to welcome everybody tonight. It's nice to see a good turnout. Thank you for everybody for coming. Please join me for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a short consent agenda tonight. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion. Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Consent agenda passes. We have an early action item tonight. And I think everybody's probably heard recently of the passing of Orville Roth, great man in this community. And the board would formally like to recognize Orville for his many contributions to this community, and in particular to our schools and the kids in this community. He did so much for our schools and the kids, and we'd like to make a formal recognition of him with a resolution. So I'll just go ahead and read this so everybody can see what it says. Whereas the members of Silver Falls School Board take this means to express their sympathy to the family of Orville Roth, who recently passed away, and whereas Mr. Roth was a longtime resident of Silver Falls School District and owner of Roth's Fresh Market, whereas Mr. Roth was a business, civic, and philanthropic leader who generously supported all schools in the district, and whereas Mr. Roth strongly believed in giving back to the community, and whereas Mr. Roth encouraged and provided for student participation in school academics, athletics, and extracurricular activities, and whereas Mr. Roth supported post-high school, college, and career opportunities through annual student scholarships, and whereas Mr. Roth provided employment and career-building opportunities for thousands of local students, and whereas Mr. Roth's tireless work ethic and total commitment to customer service were trademark characteristics, therefore be it resolved that the Silver Falls School Board recognizes the decades-long contributions of Orville Roth and requests a copy of this memorial resolution to be sent to his family at this time of sadness. Orville Roth will be dearly missed by his family, friends, and the entire community. We just wanted to make that a formal resolution. Orville's son Michael's here tonight, so I don't know if you wanted to say anything, Mike?
Sure. Well, thank you to the Silver Falls School Board, and we have a saying in Ross, Oregon is home, but truly to us, Orville Silverton is home. He loved this community like nothing else, and he loved the people, the kids. He loved just being a part of it, so thank you for that recognition, and that was beautifully written. Tim and I went to grade school together, so you learned good, so.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so very much. That means so much to our family.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Mike. Let's, if we could, let's give a hand to Orville. Okay, moving on. I'd like to open it up to our first audience with visitors.
You need to take action on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll move for approval.
I'll second. Is there a second? Sorry about that, you guys.
A second.
David second. Moved and seconded to adopt this resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, now we'll open it up to the first audience with visitors. We have a presentation from some...
Student rep.
Boy, I am really going over the Thanks, Denise. Okay, we'll ask our student reps to come forward now.
Hi there.
Macy Mulholland is here today.
All right, everybody have their calendars out? So I'll start off with sports. Last weekend was our dance team's first competition, and they did amazingly well. They got first in jazz and second in hip hop and lyrical. Next, our varsity football team is in the playoffs. We hosted our first playoff game of the season last Friday against Mountain View, and we won 35-0. We have another playoff game scheduled for Friday against Springfield. Soccer, the varsity soccer team just got to the playoffs for the first time in over 20 years. We hosted our first playoff game ever last Friday. Our game was against Wilson. We won 2-1. We had a game the next Our next game was against Wilsonville, and we lost 0-3, ending our season. Swimming and basketball practices will also be starting soon. For clubs, starting off with ASB, run by Johnny Farrow, we have been busy planning our upcoming coin drive. Throughout the week of November 18th through the 22nd, SHS will be raising funds for the Tree of Giving to get presents for families in need during the holiday season. This year we plan to raise $4,500. Students will have faculty incentives and many fun activities to choose from throughout the week to make a difference in the lives of students in the Silverton area. Key Club, run by Megan Miller, recently raised $525 during their Trick or Treat for UNICEF project, targeted towards helping third world countries eliminate maternal neonatal tetanus. Upcoming projects for Key Club this month consist of volunteering at SACA and making themed holiday centerpieces for a retirement home. National Honor Society, run by Chris Yarnall, has started their volunteering. On Friday, November 15th, some of the NHS students will be helping the Zenith Women's Group with a bingo night. Theater, run by Doug Osterhout, is in rehearsals for Arms and the Man, which will be performed on November 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, and is student-directed by Carissa Mathey. Also in rehearsal is Steel Magnolias, which is student-directed by Savannah Shiwi, and will be performed December 12th, 13th, and 14th. Next, FELA, run by Trish Conlon, just participated in Oregon Leadership Institute in Sun River this past weekend. In December, they will be serving at the Elks Purple Ball. Interact Club, run by John Mannion, is helping families in need by putting on a canned food drive within the high school. Speech, run by Katie Kantrowitz, has just finished with a very big tournament hosted here at our very own Silverton High School. Over 30 different schools participated in the tournament this past weekend. Silverton's speech team placed 7th overall and had multiple individual awards. Construction is working on planning projects around the community. Auto Club is working hard learning more about cars and bringing their own cars in to work on. And Band, run by Frank Petrick, is preparing for their winter concert on Wednesday, December 18th. Last, Choir, run by Jennifer Kircher, is also preparing for their winter concert on Thursday, December 19th. Concert choir and choraleers have been given the opportunity to perform with the Willamette Master Chorus at Willamette University on December 13th, 14th, and 15th. Also, all of the choirs would like to give a big thank you to everyone who supported the department in getting the new risers. All right, everybody got those dates down?
Yeah, several. Great. Any questions for Macy? Okay, thank you. Good
Thank
report.
you.
Nice report, thank you.
And I need to apologize for getting things out of order and a little mixed up so far tonight. So thank you, Macy.
Thank you.
Okay, now I will open it up with our first audience with visitors. And first off, we have a presentation from some Eugene Field staff members. So if you guys want to come up here to the front, and I don't know how you're set up to do it all at once or
We're going to be alternating.
Okay,
What
okay.
we were all. All right, my name's Angie Miller, and I teach first grade at Eugene Field. And I'm here with a group of...
Excuse me, Angie, are there going to be, is this going to go through the whole thing, or is this a presentation?
No, I'm just going to do the introduction, and then we have some people doing little parts, and
Okay.
that's when the pictures will come in.
Okay, because we'll move when the pictures come.
You don't need to see them.
Yes. Go ahead with the introduction. Thanks.
You bet. And you guys can pass this around so you can sign in. I'm Angie Miller, teach first grade at Eugene Field School, and I'm here with a group of teachers from Eugene Field. We've spent some of our own time off and our own resources to gather information in pictures and in words, just to present you with a picture of what we see at Eugene Field School on a daily basis. Want you to think of us there with 450 students, age 5 to 9 years old. We want to give you an educator's perspective on how the facility affects our daily teaching and the students' learning. We'd also like to invite all of you, any of you, to come visit the school for a couple of days while students are there, so you have an opportunity to see the things we're going to be talking about firsthand. That's a really important piece of this because we can sit and talk about it, but for you to really see how it affects the students, it's really important for you to be there and look and see. Okay? So first, I'd like to introduce Aaron Johnson.
How you doing?
And he's going to be talking about our electrical and technology pieces.
Okay, if we're going to show some
Yeah.
pictures, maybe
Yes,
we should.
we are now. Denise, do you need our physical address or just that we're in Silverton?
Just Silverton. I'm mainly interested in your names.
Okay.
All right. This first part that I'm going to go over is the electrical/technology challenges that Eugene Field faces. And my name is Aaron Johnson, and I work at the same school in room 12. I'm a special ed functional skills teacher / teacher not on special assignment, but the one that helps with all the technical challenges. So the first slide. This slideshow will kind of give you guys a visual perspective of all the different challenges we face at the Eugene Field School. Those are listed on the right: electrical, plumbing, cafeteria, heating, assembly, the playground, our ceilings, and the parking. In our school, we have a huge electrical problem in that each classroom only has between 2 and 4 outlets. So we use a whole lot of switches and electrical sockets that are added on. And a lot of times you'll go into a classroom and see at least 1, 2, or 3 power strips in each classroom. Teaching stations utilize 1 outlet, and 23 student devices are left with 1 or 2 outlets. In our K-3 building, we are having 5 to 9-year-olds set up and tear down their own mobile lab daily, which takes a lot of time away from instruction. On the floors, as you can see, we have the power strips pretty much laid out as close as it can be to the outlet on the wall. They can only go so far. And the biggest hazard about this, as you can see, is that kids trip over it. And this is an ongoing issue because we have the more computers and iPads that get introduced into the classrooms, the bigger the challenge. And going forward in technology, we're only going to be adding more. So just keep that in mind as we go through these slides. This picture on the right is our mobile lab that gets set up in each classroom every day for a period of time. And the problems that we have are finding outlets. So that pretty much sums that up. On the left-hand picture, you'll see one of our classic carts. It's kind of our media cart. Every classroom has one of these. It has our laptop charger, our projector, our sound system, power strips to support all of that, and it goes across the floor to the wall plug-in. The problem is that we use these rubber strips to keep it down on the floor, and that's what they originally installed when we added all this equipment, which was generously provided by the Parent-Teacher Club. The only problem is they have to find a way to power everything, so they go through the power cord strips, and on the bottom left you can see the rubber strip that holds it down. Originally those were screwed into the floor, but so many students going back and forth over and over and over 1,000 times a day tripped, the students would trip on it and it would rip off from the screws. So this year I went through each classroom myself and removed the screws because those were a hazard in and of itself. So the rubber wasn't staying where it was supposed to, so students could trip and rip their knees open on a screw, which never happened, but it could. So this one obviously doesn't have any screws in it, and it just sits there on the floor, which I'm sure everybody has walked over something similar to that, and it's quite a tripping hazard. This is one of our cows. It's called Computer on Wheels. Somebody's thought up that nifty name, but anyway, these are in the hallway constantly. They're kind of a hazard. You know, kids are running all day long. They're not supposed to, but they're running in the hallway, and these are kind of a big thing that's in the way. This is our nurse's office that's entirely powered by an extension cord. Ethernet cords are a whole nother issue. For most of our computers, they're all networked of course, using the wireless network, but when our computers sit at a station, or our student computers, which are not laptops, they have to be powered by Ethernet cords. And a lot of times we have 100-foot Ethernet cords that go all the way around the classroom because the computers can only be in one certain place. So for me, example, I had to get Gary Marshall to give me a 100-foot cord when I moved classrooms this year because there's no way my student computers could be anywhere near where it comes out of the wall. And right here, I just kind of explained the rubber cover that's supposed to keep the wires together. Another big problem with the wires going across the floor is that there's power going through them. And a lot of times the cords get disconnected from the devices. So for like the power speakers, you know how when you plug into a speaker wire into the back of a stereo, if there's power going through it, but it's exposed, a lot of times those get pulled out when the students go by. And a teacher might not notice, and so live wire is sitting right there on the floor, and it happens more often than you would think.
And Erin, can I mention that we use every inch of the space that we have. So with little ones, we're on the floor, and we have to constantly remind them not to sit on the wires, not to sit around the wires, but that's a problem too.
Yeah, as you can tell, it takes up a good portion of space. We try to cover these things up with rugs, but it doesn't work out too well all the time. As you can see on the right corner or right picture, there's a whole strand of wires, and the more computers you have, especially student computers, the more cords you have. And the tech department does an excellent job of trying to maintain order in all the chaos, but a lot of times things have to get moved, and the result is massive piles of wires. On the left here, you can see we have a closet that is utilized for computers, and that's probably not the safest place for computers to be. On the left, there's a laptop cart that consumes huge amounts of power, and Jennifer has recently told me that our building is at maximum output for electricity for the entire building. So the more devices we add, the less power our building is going to have, and eventually I'm sure we'll go over that and I'll start having rolling blackouts or something. But this laptop cart consumes a lot of power. On the right here we have a printer and a computer, so there's a lot of electronic devices in each room. These are just kind of some general power strip pictures. That's on the left there, that's Marie Coxon's Title I room. All the computers are powered on top of the table, and it runs underneath to an extension cord. On the right there is the server room, and that's just in a closet. And this is actually my room. I couldn't find any other way to power my computers, so I made my own way, and it's an extension cord that runs 3 computers. Here we have on the stage where children play all the time is the control, what do you call this thing?
Electrical panel.
Electrical panel, thank you. And some more computers with switches, more wires. And we are now on to the plumbing / rainwater buildup. And Miss Angie Miller will explain this part.
Okay. This is, well, let me just start. We have 3 sets of student bathrooms at Eugene Field, serving 450 students. We have 3 adult restrooms, only one of which is separate from the student restrooms, for 53 staff members, and then parent volunteers included in them. We have, in the north wing alone, and this is in the north wing, there are about 180 students. There's 1 girls' and 1 boys' restroom in that area. Erin, can you go back to the girls' restroom? In the girls' restroom, for whatever reason, they have found a leak or a problem with the sink and can't fix it. but the water coming into those 3 sinks is all on one shutoff, so they can't shut the water off to that one. But they've put a board over it to keep the kids from using it, but you can still turn the water on. So again, these are 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9-year-olds. It's wonderful to watch the waterfall that comes off the sink, off the board. So that, and I'm not sure why, but that's the best we could do at this point in time. Okay, back to the next one. The water pressure in the building is such that if you flush more than 1 toilet at a time, the waste won't go completely down, and there isn't enough water to wash your hands. On the left is the boys' sink in the north wing. When you flush one of the 2 toilets or one of the 2 urinals, the water normally would spray out. Well, the water trickles down that center column. And I asked a 3rd grade boy that was in that bathroom one day, I said, what do you do when the water does that? And he said, oh, I just splash my hands in the bottom, get a paper towel and dry them. And so that's pretty much what happens in all the bathrooms. When you flush the toilets, the waste doesn't go down because you've got, again, a number of students all flushing the toilets at the same time. And then washing hands doesn't turn out to be a very good thing. You can see that the fixtures are old. The one on the left is probably one of the newest ones. The enamel's coming off. The faucets are such that they're really hard for the kids to turn on and even harder for them to turn off completely. So you can see the dripping water has caused a lot of erosion. Go on to the next one. Next one. Often in the bathrooms or even out in the hallway, these are our heating pipes. The paint is peeling off in several areas. Young children are known to put paint in their mouth, and this paint, some of the layers is lead-based paint. The heating radiators are hot to the touch, and that'll come up again a little bit later. The next picture. The picture on the right shows a sink at full blast when the toilet is flushed. And that's often what the sink looks like when the kids leave it behind because they can't turn it off all the way. The line to the right, or to the left, excuse me, I should know left and right, I teach 1st grade. On the left are kids waiting. Oftentimes, because of the way the facilities are working, it takes 10 or more minutes for the students to use the restroom and wash. They must be supervised during this time because you can't just leave them, and it greatly cuts into instructional time. When the bathrooms are shut down for water overflow, think about those toilets that are completely flushing. All of the students that would use those toilets and bathrooms are down at one of the other 2 sets of bathrooms, really crowding things up and making the lines longer. If the students aren't washing completely, which they don't, their health and hygiene are affected, and 6 students don't come to school. They miss instruction time. There is no sink or adequate ramp systems or door access to accommodate wheelchairs. And if you've ever walked down the halls at Eugene Field when it's very quiet and calm, and just take a deep breath, I don't have smell vision here, but if you take a deep breath, you'll smell the smell of urine. And our custodial staff cleans every day. They do the carpets often. The maintenance people do the best they can with the services or with the facility we have. It just seems like the smell is embedded in the structures. So plumbing is a real issue, and it cuts into instruction time in a lot of direct ways, but also some indirect ways. Now, Kathleen.
I'm Kathleen Hamburg. I teach 1st grade at Eugene Field. I've also taught 2nd grade, and I've also taught Title I reading and math.
Thank you.
I love teaching, and I love teaching at Eugene Field. We have an excellent staff and really great families and kids. I get to talk to you about our gym, our cafeteria, our auditorium. This is all the same room. We have one room which serves as all 3 of those, for those 3 purposes. It's also where students wait to meet their parents when they're picked up at the end of each day. So the multiple uses for one room significantly stretch and strain our resources of time and space, and that in turn impacts our student behavior and their learning. Staff prepare meals in the basement and cart it up ramps through the playground twice daily. Once for breakfast, once for lunch. In 60 minutes, 450 students enter, eat lunch, and move through the room. This is 3 different grade levels, 20 minutes each. The process is often loud, fast, and chaotic. The students are required to learn how to move through the lines quickly in order to have enough time to eat. Not all the students can have PE in the gym. For some, it's an outdoor activity year-round. Also, the gym is not available for alternative recesses, even on stormy, wet days. Instead, the students bundle up for recess and play under cover on the asphalt playground. We use this room also as an auditorium. Our students either carry chairs from their classrooms or sit on the hardwood floor. The sound is very poor. During the first grade music program last spring, many parents could be found in the hallway on the very hot days in order to catch a breeze from the open door. And I had one parent say to me, "You don't have air conditioning?" No. And meanwhile, students were performing on crowded bleachers under hot lights on our stage. As you can imagine, the challenges from our multi-purpose room also include student behavior and therefore learning. In trying to make one room work for all of these purposes, we're simply not able to serve the students' needs for mealtime calm, physical education, or community building gatherings. Eugene Field students need a new building. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Levrin, and I've been teaching at Eugene Field for 17 years. I'd like to address the heating. Oh my, the heating. Every morning around 7:10 when I drive up Water Street, I always pray that I don't see the white van truck that Gerald drives. Because I either know there's a plumbing issue or a heating issue. So, I don't know a lot about heating and plumbing, but I do know that it is a hot water steam system. Please pipe in and correct me if I'm misspeaking. But numerous times over numerous years, we've had leaks in the pipes, valves have misfunctioned, pumps have leaked. Over my ceiling, room 10 on the corner of Water and Park, my whole ceiling has been flooded. And it was like a waterfall for me to run through my classroom door where the valves were malfunctioning. Also, right outside my door, I had extensive wall and ceiling damage. The pump, which is above the boys' bathroom on the kindergarten first grade wing, and the pump leaked and did extensive damage upstairs in the ceiling and down the walls and the plaster. And so it's a constant battle with the heating system. The radiators, Angie mentioned, they get very hot when we turn the system on. We have small children. We always have to remind them not to sit against the radiators, not to touch the radiators. The radiators are exposed in all of our classrooms. There's no metal covers over them, also in the hallways. The temperature from the north wing to the kindergarten first grade wing on Park Street is very sporadic. Once the heat is on, the heat is on. It can be 85 degrees in your classroom or even warmer than that. So kids, we have to open the windows, not only because it's so extremely hot in the classrooms, which is just not conducive to learning, but with the CO exchange, with air quality, we have to keep our classroom windows open at all times. One wing of the building may be cold, the other wing of the building may be extremely hot. So the radiators leak. In some of the rooms, we have pans that catch the water, which is also a hazard. There's an example of in one classroom where we have to keep a pan under the radiator. In some rooms, we've actually turned the radiators off if we can because their knobs are missing. So we have switched knobs on radiators. So the building is really very inadequate in plumbing and in heating, and my staff for the last 17 years has done the best that they possibly can to educate primary students of Silver Falls. But the building is much, much too old to serve the 21st century. It's come to the point where we feel it's safety is our number one issue, and there's so many safety hazards that we have to address every single day. But we're still there doing our job, trying to teach the kids and do the best we can with what we have. Any questions? Thanks.
Tina Howell is going to talk about the gym and the assembly.
Okay, I'm Tina Howell, and I've been teaching at Eugene Field. This is my 13th year, and I currently teach 3rd grade. I'm going to talk about the gym and the playground. My voice is underneath this. For one thing, there is lead paint on that is peeling and chipping on the pipes, which you saw in another photo, and it's also in the gym. The gym noise, you can hear it all throughout the school. My classroom is just about 4 classrooms down from the gym, and I can hear PE in there, and so there's always a lot of noise coming from that space, and so I have to close my door, which makes it stuffy in my class. And then also when we close our doors in our classroom, there's also road noise all the time because we're surrounded on all 4 sides by roads. So there's traffic noise coming in from the windows, and then we have to close it because of the gym, so that's a constant problem. In our gym, we cannot gather as a school for open house, for performances or programs. We have to do it by grade level because there's not enough space to house everyone at the same time. There is a balcony, as you know, but it hasn't been in use since I've been there, so at least in the last 13 years, it's a hazard. We used to have things stored up there, but that was taken away years ago as well. In the gym, there are carts, tables, PE equipment, and just stuff all around the edges of the gym. Today, my class had PE, and I would say 80% of the wall space was covered. If you include the stage as a space where you can't really be, and then carts, the lunch cart was out there. There's like a big cabinet where they keep for heating the lunch meals, and the milk cart and supplies, and it does worry me as a safety issue when kids are going full board in PE, which is what we want them to do, that there's going to be an accident, kids running headfirst into something that's along the wall. Each student is required by the state to have 100 minutes of PE each week, but our students only receive 30 minutes. In large part, we don't have the space to have PE all day because we are having 3 lunch times. So it's often not able to be used for the purpose of a gym, which is for physical activity. Next, I'll talk about the playground. Our covered recess area is not conducive to the number of kids that are on recess during inclement weather. That is so awesome. You have to take a second to just enjoy that. Our principal, I'll just tell you briefly, our kids were able to spray her or squirt her with ketchup and mustard. You want to go back to it? It's enjoyable to watch.
Yes, it's
and duct tape her to the wall, but we had to use a table. And they squirted her if we earned at least $7,000 in our fundraiser. And so that was a wonderful time. And so that was a great use of our gym that day. But for recess, we have at least, you want to show, yeah, there's one recess picture. When it's a rainy day recess, we have up to 130 students out on the playground at a time. And that's about what it looks like with 2 grown-ups that are watching them. And there are very few things to do. There's absolutely no running. They're crowding together, trying to find some activity to get themselves warm and just to get their heart rates up. We just got our basketball hoops up just a few weeks ago. We hadn't had them the whole year. Let's see here. Kids are not allowed to run, as I said. The blacktop on the playground is cracked and warped, which is a safety issue with kids running, although they're not supposed to be running. There are uneven surfaces which create deep puddles for kids who get soaked and remain wet all day, which kids and water, they see it, they want to be in it. So it is hard to keep them out of it. And you can't see this, but there's a dripping pole that is on the end of the playground area. It's constant water coming down into the playground. It makes a big, huge puddle. So as kids are either out at recess, they see it and are tempted by it. And then every time when they go, when kids are coming in from the bus or going out from the bus, if there's standing water there, it's always the potential for a jumping area. Exhaust from vehicles that are parked on the street accumulate underneath the outdoor covered area and just kind of hang there and make the air quality poor. We are not able to staff the field that is next to our school. I've heard people say, well, you guys have a field, why don't you use it? The problem is that there's a road that separates our school from that field, and kids are not able to go there unless they are with an adult. You have to have a key to unlock the gate and then go over to cross the road and then unlock that or open that gate. And we have not used it yet this year. Today, this is our 46th day of school. We've not been able to use it because we're not able to staff it. Okay, I think that's all that I have. Does anybody from our group want to add to that?
Okay. Aaron, were you going to talk about the playground and some of your students? Was somebody going to mention that?
Yes, I have the disabled population of students traversing the playground, especially during inclement weather when there's 130 kids out there, is tough. A lot of my kids have sensory overload and they cannot go out there, and that includes the other basic skills classroom as well. And it's just a safety hazard for kids in wheelchairs. I have a little 5-year-old girl who, is learning how to walk in her walker, and I cannot tell you how many times she's almost been run over by kids because they don't pay attention where they're going and they run into them. Or I'm trying to wrangle 3 kiddos because of staff, and one is running out in the rain, one is running away in his walker, and I have to manage watching a lot of kids at the same time to make sure nobody gets hurt. And I know that's a challenge at most schools, but it's significant at ours because of the lack of space.
Wait, I wanted to add something. I would invite you to drive around to schools around the state of Oregon and see if you see any that are surrounded on all 4 sides by streets, by busy streets. As a staff, we really believe that is a safety issue, that also just making sure that our kids are safe from any intruder that could possibly come in our area. Our kids are just like open and sitting. I don't want to say that, but that is a real big safety issue for us.
All right, the next part we're going to talk about is the ceilings.
And Dana Peterson, our basic skills teacher, was going to be here tonight to do that, but I got it instead. One of the things that happens when it rains hard is we have water intrusion. During the last big storm, water leaked through the roof in room 5, ruining computers. During hard rains, the basement floods, leaving dampness and moldy smells behind. The rain, like Tina said, also leaves many puddles on the playground and around the mobile classrooms. And there was a picture of that. That's what room 5 ceiling looks like right now. After the water, it's been dried out, but it's left exposed. The standing water from rain around the mobile classrooms is a real problem. We end up with students, of course, they love, like he said, they love to jump in the water. And we're left with cold students that have a really hard time focusing on their learning. Even when they change, their hair is wet, their feet are wet, it's a regular problem. Parking is another big issue at Eugene Field. Like Tina said, we are surrounded on 4 sides by streets. Remember that on 2 sides, it's Highway 214, and they're also business and church parking in those same areas. We frequently get complaints from local businesses saying their customers have nowhere to park. If there is a funeral during the school day, the church asks us to have our staff move their cars, so they have parking enough for people to attend the funeral services. Right past where that woman is standing is the parking lot for the church, which is where students are dropped off by parents in the morning. It's the car drop-off. So there's cars lined up down Front or First Street, which is also Highway 214, waiting to drop their kids off. We have crossing guards that cross the students to the school grounds, but parents don't like to wait in those lines. And so they're often trying to circumvent the line by dropping their kids off in other places. I have found kids come to the door on First Street right across the street from the church, which is not an entry, to the entry by Mr. Johnson's classroom, which is also not an entry for students, but that's where their parents have dropped them off at. And no matter how much we have educated and explained, the parents don't want to wait in that long line. It's very long. And so those kids are either walking around the school unsupervised, or hopefully somebody sees them and lets them in. That happens quite often. Another piece with the space that Dana was going to talk about was we have some information from a group called the American Planning Association, and they recommend that an elementary school with 450 students or so should be placed on a site over 9 acres of land. Eugene Field, their site is only about 3.9 acres. There is not a quiet space inside the building that you can assess individual students or small groups without distraction. Teachers have placed, like we've seen, small classroom computer labs in closet spaces. We are out of room. We need to add 2 more kindergarten rooms for all-day kindergarten. Our ELD teacher, Mrs. Mannion, teaches out of an office space, and she serves over 75 ELD students. We would really like to have a stationary computer lab, although I don't know that that's going to pan out just because of where our technology is going. We'd like to have a separate cafeteria so we can use our gym space. And we have literally used every closet for instruction. We need more room. Inga?
Hi, I'm Inga Mannion. I currently am the English language development teacher full-time at Eugene Field. It's only my 3rd year at Eugene Field and my 4th year in the district, but I have taught in 4 different school districts and several other schools. I came to Eugene Field to teach the kindergarten classes that were called the bilingual classes. I was really astounded by the logistical challenges with the facilities. At the time, we had 6 kindergarten classes, averaging 22 students per class. And I felt we were losing a lot of instructional time because our building floor plan is so spread out. Our buses are at the other end of the campus, and the playground is, again, very spread out. And we do have a lot of kindergarten kids actually who eat lunch. In addition, they eat lunch at our school and also breakfast at our school, just to add to the number we're serving. Those kids were walking long distances to get from the bus to their meal, then to the classroom, and all the way to the playground. It was a lot of lost instructional time. It was unfortunate. I was also really distraught when I realized that quite a number of families who live in the attendance area were choosing to send their students, their children, elsewhere. And we chose to send our children to Eugene Field and Mark Twain because those are our neighborhood schools. And in spite of the facilities challenges, I'm very pleased to say that they've both been receiving an outstanding education because they've had extremely dedicated teachers. So I'm very, very pleased with their education, but I do feel we could make it even better if we made some changes to the buildings. We touched upon the sound challenges It depends where you are in our building, because if you're on the street side, you tend to get rooms that are too hot and then you get the street noise. If you're on the other side of the hallway, you get different noise. But ironically, we were advised to keep our windows and doors open as much as possible to increase the airflow. So the first thing I do when I get to work is open my windows and turn on the air purifier that I purchased to try to get some wind, some movement of the air. It's just that many times I do need to shut my hallway door because our food services people are having to move the metal carts up and down the hallway, and they're old wooden floors, they're very creaky, and the carts are coming and going, kids are coming and going to the bathroom right next to my room, my office space. In looking toward the future, I think to really serve the population of students who I am teaching, I would greatly benefit from a larger classroom, because the majority of my 75 students do not have internet at home or computers or iPads. And really, I need to be reaching out to the families if I'm going to try to meet their needs better. Then I need to have a space that will enable me to store some resources and is a little bit more inviting to the families in the afternoons or the evenings. And I think that would be a way that my program could be greatly improved. The parent complaints regarding the air in the building are difficult to substantiate. I know that the air quality has been studied in depth. I know at least 3 staff members who've had sinus surgery, and I know numerous staff members who have had chronic sinus infections and respiratory problems such as bronchitis. And the air purifiers seem to help some of us. It's just hard to really know. I think also in the wake of the Sandy Hook incident, I've really read a lot about how newer schools are being built in a manner that would be a little bit safer. I know the district is committed to trying to help our students be as safe as they can. I know that they've hired a consultant to train us if there's an armed intruder, how would we deal with that? When I look out my window at the asphalt playground that is surrounded by chain link fence and right next to a pretty busy street, and I think about the doors that all open to one key, every door in every room in our entire building open to the same key, and I think about the number of outside groups who do use the building in the evenings and on weekends, I really don't feel very secure with the layout of the building and the key distribution. And just in my classroom where I taught kindergarten, 10 feet from the doors was First Street. We do have over 100 students who are just 5 years old, and they get anxious. And there are occasionally kids who try to leave the building, leave the classroom or leave the building because they're homesick and upset. And we're a very short distance from the busy street, but if we put a chain lock on the door, then we're locking them in. I think that's a fire hazard. We don't have an alarm system. We do exit through that door during a fire drill, and then we walk all the kindergarten kids down the sidewalk, the first graders as well, down this narrow sidewalk along First Street, cross the street, and then go to the field when we're evacuating during the fire drill. So I think that's around 150 to 200 students exiting that way down the sidewalk. So, that is our exit during emergencies, but I just think that possibly a new school that had like double doors upon entrance or some type of alarm system or different sections where you could lock different buildings like you do here at the high school. You can lock different sections and there's an alarm system in place. It would feel more secure to the teachers and the students and the families who are trying to decide whether to send their own children to the neighborhood school. That's it.
Want to go first?
Felt really weird having all of you behind me.
Maybe I'll come
Are you
around.
done with the slides?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
okay.
we are. Yeah.
Right now, you're going to be behind me.
I'm going to speak as a parent. I am a teacher, but I just like to speak to you as a parent of 3 little boys. We realize that Eugene Field is a special place, and we realize that people aren't willing to let go of the current facility, but new memories will be made. Family, staff, and most importantly, students make a great school, not the building. I have 3 beautiful boys, and all will be attending Eugene Field. My oldest is currently in kindergarten right now. His preschool was longer than his current kindergarten day. I hope for my boys that they can walk into a computer lab that works, that they can use restrooms that flush and not have to wait in line for everything. I hope for them they can have clean drinking water with fountains that work, have a safe place to run, even when it's raining. And we know that boys need to run. I hope that they can have 100 minutes of PE each week. I hope for a clean learning environment and a school that doesn't sit in between 2 of the busiest streets in town. I hope that they can sit in a gym that's not overcrowded and know that they are safe and exit if they need to exit in an emergency. I live in Silverton and I pay taxes, and I want what's best for our community, and we need to come together and take care of our youngest members of our school district.
So I also have a 7-year-old that's a 2nd grader at Eugene Field. It's only my 2nd year teaching here, and I love teaching here, and I will continue to love teaching here. You guys have all heard from contractors, structural engineers, air quality people. Now you have heard from teachers and parents' perspectives. Everything we have shown you and attested to you tonight is purely out of concern and care for our students, and many of us for our children. We want them to be able to access technology in a safe, reliable, and time-conscientious way. We want these 450 children to feel protected and secure. We want them to study, to learn, to make friends, and to have wonderful lives in our school and in our classrooms. Our students love our school. They know nothing better. But as teachers and as their parents, we have a responsibility to provide them the very best in education, safety, and in love. That's it.
And that's our presentation. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have just one small question. I appreciate the presentation. I think that this is very helpful. The issue, of course, is where do we get the money?
Exactly.
Okay. You referenced the ideal size according to one entity, and I don't remember what
American Planning Association.
The American Planning Association. Thank you.
And I'm sure that there are others
Right.
that have recommendations. But
I'm sure. I'd just like to
Absolutely.
do some research. Okay, so thank you very much.
Anything else?
Other questions? Okay, thank you very much for coming. Really good presentation, very informative.
Thank you for having us.
Very much. And I think
We would love to have you come, and I know you're busy and have other things that you're doing as well, but we'd love to see you.
I think the entire community is incredibly grateful for the work that you do, and especially in the difficulties that you have with facilities. So
Thank you.
it was even more apparent tonight, so thank you very much for what you do for our kids.
Yeah,
While
that's
you're
one thing
working.
is really bad.
Thank you very
And
much.
that's one thing I think teachers at our school will continuously say, we have a great school, we do, but our building is failing.
Yes.
But our school is a great school.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name's Dean Oster. You all know who I am. I'm also on the task force for the Eugene Field. And what we're looking at now is I'm on there with David and several other people, and I wish that whole the committee could have been here tonight to see this presentation. We've had one meeting. Jennifer did an outstanding job of taking us through the building, showing us many of these concerns here, but it's even more impressive to see it from the people in the trenches. And so this was an excellent presentation. What I would like to do is make sure, Andy, that maybe Denise shoot out an email to everybody on that committee extending that same invitation to go down there during operating hours and see what 450 little campers and what organized chaos looks like, so they get a feel for exactly what we've looked at already in one meeting and what's really like down there. So please do that for everybody on the committee. And then just one thing that's been I guess a pet peeve of mine in regards to Eugene Field School has always been the safety issue of not inside the school, but outside the school. I think anybody would be a fool not to think that we've been on borrowed time for years, that there has not been a child seriously hurt, if not killed, getting to and from school there. Staff, I think they do a great job, but I know based on the age group of the kids, they're our youngest kids, and they, I see mothers and dads every day, and most of the time, the child that they're taking there may be their oldest one, and so they're going to and fro, and they've got maybe a couple more in hand. And I think the school district, maybe technically, legally, we're not responsible after they hit those outside doors, but I like to think we go to a higher standard. And if some child breaks away from their mother, leaving the school or coming across the street, because they have to cross those kinds of streets with that kind of traffic and that kind of speed, that, I think that's an issue. And I know I'm going to be bringing that up to the committee as one of my pet peeves in regards to Eugene Field School. Even if that school there wasn't anything wrong with the inside of it, just the mere location of that school is inadequate, I believe, for the age of the kids that go there. So, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Dean. And Andy, I was thinking during their presentation also that it would be nice if we could hold that up, scan TV or something, and show their presentation to the committee somehow.
That's an idea.
So,
excellent.
I'd like to say too, the word's getting out. I mentioned Tim on the way in. This last month has been kind of unusual. I was approached by 3 sets of senior citizens this last few weeks, asking when we're going to get rid of Eugene Field. They're ready to vote on it. So that's a bit of a surprise. Usually that's a demographic we think that will always vote no, but it may not be the case.
Okay. Would anyone else like to address the board tonight? Okay. Moving on then to discussion items. We have proposed revision to policy GBDA, mother-friendly workplace. This is a second reading on this. Is there any discussion on this one tonight?
Changes look good.
Anything else? Okay, other items? Anybody else have any discussion? Okay, moving on to administrator and staff reports. Andy, safe dividend, vision and planning process, community forums.
Yeah, a couple of items to share with you. First of all, very good news. I've shared with you in an email that through its workers' compensation company, SAFE, the school district has received a $32,000 dividend, which on occasion we've received dividends on an annual basis in the past, but I'm not aware of any dividend to that amount. And in the simplest terms, it comes down to safety and the experience mod that's determined by the number and the cost of the accidents or incidences that have occurred the year prior. So the dividend is a result of safe behaviors. And when I think of who to say, way to go, of course I think of the staff members right away. You have a diverse community of over 400 staff members that have every very interesting situation that could arise to result in accidents. Some to do with facilities, others personal behavior, just a variety of things, and some of course out of their control. But the credit here goes to them largely for taking safety seriously and for resulting in this $32,000 dividend, which, taking the advice of our insurance carrier, James Dooley of Larson Flynn, he has made this statement over and over, safety means jobs. And so when you're talking about a $32,000 safety, that's general fund dollars, and general fund dollars are largely staffing. So that's a nice windfall, and kudos to the staff members across this district for helping to make that happen. I'd also like to publicly thank Eric and Pete Paradis, who I think over the last 3 years have done a nice job of establishing a new level of training, safety, and awareness in this district that I think is unprecedented. And again, I'd like to send my appreciation to James Dooley of Larson Flynn. It's an insurance agent that has stepped up more than we have in the recent past. So full combination, I think, is a result here. So it's good news.
That's terrific. Has that been communicated to our staff members?
That is going out in an email, but hasn't been communicated yet. Wanted to make a big to-do with you folks, and we'll definitely do it with them as well.
Thank them for us.
Yeah, that's really good news.
You bet. And then you've been in the loop this entire process with your visiting planning, and I'm pleased to say that it's coming together nicely. We have sent out multiple, Denise would tell me exactly, but I'm sure it's over 100, 150 maybe invitations to local folks for our 1-hour community sessions by stakeholder groups next Monday and Tuesday. We've had a number of RSVPs, they're coming in. We have 3 community sessions scheduled. We've heard from people already that they plan to attend those community sessions. We've also used the thought stream process again, as you're well aware. We've received close to 2,000 thoughts already from those, and those questions are, as you have developed, specific to your needs and your desires and your wishes to hear from the public. And this is huge. This is a big step, and I'm anxious to get the results compiled, or have the results compiled, get them in front of you so you can have some real clear information on where we're going in the future, including facilities, as you heard tonight. And that's what I have to share.
Community forums next week?
The community forums are Monday and Tuesday night. Monday night they're at Butte Creek School and at Central Howell School. Butte Creek begins at, I have my cheat sheet in front of me. I believe it's at 6. And this is all coming out in the newspaper this week as well. I'm doing a one call now. It'll be on the website before the end of the week as well. But on Monday night, Butte Creek is 5 to 6:15. Central Howell is 7 to 8:30, and those are designed to extend and be flexible as necessary because we have more than one person doing the forums. And then on Tuesday night is from 6 to 7:30 at Robert Frost School.
Okay, questions for Andy? Great, thank you, Andy. Scott, financial report.
Your financial report, I apologize for it being late. We had some unavoidable delays. The balance sheet that's in your yellow, and it was handed out to you before the meeting today. Your balance sheet looks real strong for the year ending October 31st. Your summary by fund, remember that's revenue less expenses, current expenses as of October 30th, October 31st. Second page is your budget remaining. We do this on a cash basis, so that's essentially the money comes in and the money goes out, and when it comes in, we count it, and when it goes out, we count it. We don't take a lot of payables or receivables in either of those numbers. The percent remaining, usually you like to kind of compare that to the year, so like on the expenditure side, if we're around 80% in that, we're in good shape for the year going forward at this time of the year in the school year. Your third page is your general operating fund expenditure summary. This is broken out by facility. So both the areas do not achieve carryover retention, and then of course down below is the carryover retention portion. And then finally your cash flow statement, which is the small print that's system generated report. You'll see that there are some numbers in November. I have to ask you to ignore those. For some reason, the system, even though you ask for it by a certain date, it'll always give you some November numbers if you run it in November, and I ran this report in November, first part of November. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Scott. Miranda Traeger, Community Roots Annual Report. Thanks for coming right off the top. Thank you for a real thorough report.
Our massive, our novel, to say the least.
Well, thank you so much for having us this evening. I'm excited to report that we've kind of hit a milestone at Community Roots. We have finally fulfilled our developmental cycles in a Montessori classroom setting. Montessori is about mixed-age classrooms, and the idea is that we have a lower elementary, which is a 1st through 3rd grade classroom, and then we have upper elementaries, which are 4th through 6th grade classrooms. And for the first time last year, we were able to hit that. And so we've kind of grown to our capacity 6th graders. So it was wonderful. We had 2 lower elementary, 1st through 3rd grade classrooms last year, and 1 upper elementary classroom. And we, for the first time, graduated 6th graders. We had 3 of them. We were very proud of being able to allow those students that opportunity to have that Montessori education. Last year, our enrollment was 65. We are currently at 77 for this school year. One of the things that has been kind of a shift in it for us is that we're kind of taking a back to basics look at the school for this current school year. We've done an amazing job of setting up wonderful opportunities for the students in the classroom, offering music and Spanish. And this current school year, what we're going to be doing is making sure that we're hitting the basics for our kiddos this year, making sure that they're hitting some really high academic marks. So looking at our report card, everything's made a shift and everything's going into rating scales for this from this point forward until they change it again, and we'll look at that, how that one happens. But so when looking at the details of everything, we found that our reading, we hit a level 4, which we have been consistently doing outstanding well with our reading, but that our math kind of struggled a little bit, and we hit a rating of our math. And so for this current school year, we'll be spending all of our early release time aligning our Montessori curriculum to the Common Core and making sure that we are meeting all of those Common Core standards and that we have the Montessori materials to meet those needs. So that's kind of our huge focus for this next school year, is making sure that we're hitting those Common Core in the areas of math. We're aligning with the achievement compact that the district has accepted of having those high 3rd grade reading scores. So we're working really hard, lots of interventions to make sure that we have all of our kiddos, our 3rd grade kiddos, reading at that grade level. We're very excited about that challenge, and I think it will do nothing but help them throughout their whole educational career of that. And then our focus is 5th grade math, and making sure that they are hitting those high benchmarks from the achievement compact that we set forward. So with the back to the basics, this is kind of our first year of not having that outstanding rating, and so we're all have a fire lit beneath us, and we're going to make sure that those kiddos are hitting what they need to. So it's always nice to have those little dips to remind us that we need to constantly continue to improve our practice and our academic expectations as well. So we have implemented a new reading program for this past school year. Montessori math is very specific to the Montessori materials, so we will not be changing our program. We'll just make sure that we have the materials to be able to meet the needs for that one. This current school year, we're going to start having an environmental focus. Montessori has a huge connection to the earth and to nature, and so we're going to do what we can to make sure that those kiddos are outside as much as possible. We're having lots of walking field trips down to the river to be able to look and explore that component, and then we want to make sure that we're getting kids outside as much as possible. For Common Core, looking at how we're going to get these kiddos and the teachers up and running for that one. We have a number of our staff that are training attending COSA trainings when it comes to the Common Core.
And then we are currently in the process of doing a whole new alignment of our Montessori curriculum with the new Common Core standards. So we have a document that's complete, and we're going to spend this whole year just kind of tweaking it and make sure that everything is in alignment. So we'll have that up and running for the next school year. We'll have a complete alignment of that. Along with that, we have established a new record-keeping system. It is all online. It's called Montessori Compass, and what the teachers will do is proficiency-based. And as teachers are doing lessons and observing and looking at assessments, they will be documenting online the proficiency of each of those lessons. And each of those lessons then has a direct link to a Common Core standard, so we'll be able to print out progress reports that not only show where they're at with Montessori, but then also how they're meeting the Common Core standard. This is a nationwide thing. The whole Montessori community is wrapping their head around Common Core, and they've kind of created this online system that is being utilized nationwide. We had a very wonderful and successful auction that just happened. We raised over $31,000 at our auction that we just had here recently. And the focus of one of those was a paddle up that raised money for technology. As you see with the presentation for the Eugene Field, the need for technology is becoming just increasingly a necessity for our kiddos, and especially with the new Smarter Balance assessments that are coming through. These little guys are going to have to know how to type, and we need to make sure that we're preparing them for that. So we were able to access some funds to be able to bring some more technology into the classroom, so our kids will be able to, when they hit that 3rd grade and have to do some typing, well, hopefully they'll be prepared for it. Again, we're still on that constant search for that permanent home, and we'll continue that search. We also are bringing in Lego robotics. That's kind of a new concept. We have a teacher who's pretty passionate about that, and we're going to try our first after-school program of Lego robotics. So we'll see how that one goes. We won't be competing this year, but we will be going through all the motions that go along with it. So that's kind of last year and what we're looking forward to for this year. Any questions?
I have a couple.
Sure.
You mentioned the permanent home.
Yes.
What are your current thoughts about that, and where are you at on that?
Yeah, so our school board met, and we just have been, I think our facilities committee has spent about a year looking at a variety of different options. We are currently set to explore one more year lease at the Schlater Street campus. We are also constantly have the option of looking into Monitor Elementary School as a space that we could house it. Our mission, yeah, it's kind of funny to think about going back to where we started from. Our mission statement and the name of our school is Community Roots. We really have a passion about making sure that these children are embedded in this community. And not only for their own education, but for being able to do community service and to be able to be out as leaders in our community. And so it is a huge passion of us to make sure that we are in town and finding that permanent location somewhere within the rules and regs of the city and county. So that's where we're at this point.
Okay. Yeah. And also I was looking at your goals. On your goal 2, you have a regarding facilities.
Yes.
You have a near-term goal of focusing on providing a stable environment where student achievement and pragmatic excellence come first. Don't we have that today?
Yeah. I think it's a constant for us, is just to make sure that we're not in such a state where we're moving constantly and we're jeopardizing the academic success of our kiddos.
Okay, so the goal is to maintain it.
That very much so.
Okay.
Very much so.
Other questions? Okay, thank you. Very good report. Appreciate it. Jennifer Hannon, Eugene Field.
I will be very brief because I know we've spoken a lot about Eugene Field tonight, but I think it's important to acknowledge some of the great work that's happening there in spite of the facilities challenges. They are absolutely correct that they don't let it slow them down much, so it is frustrating at times. And there are some, but they're just photos, so don't feel like you have to move. You can glance if you want, but they can be entertainment for the audience. Go ahead, Erin. Our enrollment right now is 447. There's a breakdown there of where those kiddos are. We have a very large second grade class, and then our smallest class is kindergarten. 54% of our kids currently are free and reduced lunch. We have 70 that are registered in ELD, but she's serving currently about 76 because we do have some on monitor status as well. 66 of those kiddos are identified in special education, but our special ed folks are serving about 130 kids at this time. And then we are a school-wide title program. We have, outside of the kindergarten crowd, 28 kids that are resident Eugene Field kiddos that are transferred out to our rural schools, and about 25 kids from the rural schools that are transferred in. Enrollment change for us, we did have a drop from last year. That's 22 now, as of today, kindergartners that have transferred to full-day kinder programs. So we attribute that to the dip in enrollment for us. And in response to that, this summer we did cut a 0.5 kindergarten teacher to accommodate for that dip of kids transferring into the full-day programs. And then a 20 kid fluctuation for us is pretty normal. Just in this school year, we've had 22 kids either come in or go out. In math last year, 83% of our kids met or exceeded in math. The district average was 79% and the state average was 62%. So our teachers did a fantastic job with math. So we're continuing to move forward with those practices. Reading, we had 75% of our kids met or exceeded in reading. 74 was the district average and 68 was the state average, so well above state average in that one too. Our two areas of focus, our only 3s on our state report card were in our limited English proficiency. 50% of those kids met in reading, which was still well above the state and district average, which were 38 and 33% respectively. So our staff in that department is doing a fantastic job, but we do want to close that gap. We have a 25% difference there. And then our special ed kiddos, 45% of them met in reading, and our district was 39 and state was 39 as well. So 4 are those targeted subgroups where we have the achievement gaps, some things that we put in place to help try and close that gap. First, we've extended the day for our ELD kindergartners, so they stay and do their English language classes with Mrs. Vanyan after their kindergarten day with morning kindergartners and before their kindergarten day, it's our PM kindergartners. That's so we don't have to pull them out of an already really short 2-hour and 20-minute school day, so they get both the classroom and the ELD. We offer homework help for both our special education and ELD students before school. And then we have help rooms available for them the last hour of the day. So any kids in those populations, and honestly any kids who are struggling at all, we can send to our specialists for some instant reteaching or tutoring or assessment help. And then this year, Mrs. Mannion has started Wednesday nights open for our ELD students and families to come in and get community resource supports and work with the technology, specifically with Rosetta Stone. So we're excited to figure out a way to do more of that. And one of the things that we're working on is working on either take-home technology for those subgroups or ways to have lab access open for both of those subgroups so they can come to us and use the technology there. And the reason that the technology makes sense for us is at our level is skill building primarily, and the technology is really effective at those things. It's not as effective like to teach. It doesn't take the place of a teacher if you're looking at content areas, but in terms of skill building with fluency, the technology can really be effective. What's working? What do we attribute for why our scores are great? Great teaching is the first thing. We have really great, dedicated teachers who use really high-level instructional strategies. It's amazing to watch them in a classroom. I never really thought of teaching as an art until started spending significant times in their classroom, and it really is an art. It's not something I could do, but it's really cool to watch. We've restructured our specialist times to meet the needs for intervention and student support. So where we used to have specialists meeting with kids 30 minutes every day, we have them meeting with them for longer periods of day, either on a Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday schedule, so that we can offer, in addition to their instruction, we can offer additional supports in the regular classroom. That seems to be working for really well for teachers who utilize it consistently.
We have celebration days now, which anything that happens outside of instruction, so assemblies, guest speakers, extra classroom parties, reward points, extra recesses, any of that kind of stuff, we limit that to 1 day a month. So we have one celebration day a month. All that stuff happens. It's crazy on that day. It's a lot of fun, but it does protect instruction time on every other day in the year. And you know, little kids at birthdays and parties and class points and celebrations, it really can break up instruction if we do it when it happens. So that has helped us a lot. We try to be very mindful of age-appropriate practices. We have to think always, like, let's look at this from a 5 to 9-year-old perspective and not from what we think will work. And that has helped us kind of tone down some of, like, a couple of the teachers mentioned sensory overload. That's hard. It's like, sometimes we have to say, okay, is this like trying to teach in Chuck E. Cheese right now? Because it can be a lot, yeah. We're working really hard on the self-regulation skills for all kids. They don't necessarily come to us with those, and they all can get better at it. That's when I get frustrated, when I get upset, when things are hard, like what do I do with that? Do I start crying? Do I get under a table? Do I work through it? We are getting really active and involved about teaching kids those skills and helping them to use them in the classrooms. That's saving those kids, in particular, a lot of instruction time, but also the kids around them that previously would be distracted by kids who are melting down. And that's not because they're not melting down because Eugene Field is a scary place. They're melting down because they're 5 to 9 years old, and that's age appropriate. But we're getting more assertive about teaching them those skills. And our counselor has totally revamped the counseling program so that she sees every kid in our school every week to teach those skills. So it's a lot to take on, but we feel like it's working. And then the technology interventions. As I mentioned, the skill building is really effective with the technologies, and especially the intuitive technologies that self-adjust. So if a student is getting things, they get 3 questions wrong, it brings it down a level. They get 3 questions right, it brings it up a level. So there's that immediate differentiation for where kids are skill-wise. So we're trying to use more of that. And it would make sense at this point with the electrical concerns to just put a hold on the technology integration into the school. But as Miranda alluded to, with SFAC coming, we really don't have that option. And also, it's such an effective tool for us to meet kids' needs where they are in terms of fluency with both math and reading, that it's just a tool we feel like we need to use in fairness to our kids. So we're just trying to find a way to make it happen. And they do find a way to make it happen. It's not easy. It's really frustrating, honestly, to have 5-year-olds carry computers and set up a mobile lab, but they do it, and they're getting better at it. Highlights for us. For me, every morning, the bell ringing is a highlight because, you know, I was here in high school for 15 years, and the reaction that you get from kids at the high school when the bell rings is very different than the reaction you get from the elementary kids. They about trample you to get to class. They're so excited. It's time to learn. Our kids are great. We have great kids. Our staff is amazing. Our LRCs, our Learning Resource Centers, adapt and take kids and change roles and work with parents and teachers all of the time. They do an amazing job in there. Our MARS, which is our math and reading support room, they serve over 100 kids in there almost every day. They do an incredible job. We have started in one of our LRC centers an EIS, early intervening services, which I'm not going to talk a lot about because we talked a lot about Eugene Field, and I'm going to have that team come in for our spring presentation and fill you in on the progress they've made there, but some exciting stuff happening there. Our mouse den is the counseling program. It's in the basement, and you know, we're the mice, so she calls it the mouse den, and it's a really great place for kids. Our PTC is rocking and rolling. We have moms that are like doing new exciting stuff. You may have seen last weekend they did a Zumba night, and they had a benefit at the Gallon House, and they're doing new fun stuff that's involving families, like family event stuff. It's very cool. Our families are great. And then our volunteers, it's not just parents. We have hundreds of volunteers every week in our building, which is a problem for parking, but it's very cool to see, and it's not just parents. There's business people and grandparents and retired teachers. We have a guy that stands out there and does our crossing on the parent drop-off every morning who we don't have his kids in our building anymore. They transfer, but because they moved, but he comes in every morning and runs our crosswalk still, because it is a really amazing place to be. I mean, you hear that over and over, that there's like something really special about Eugene Field, and we kind of feel like that has worked against us in the whole bond thing, because it's this great experience, and it really is kind of a magical place. But I agree with Mrs. Weekend, it's not about the building, it's about the traditions that we have there, and the families and the kids and the staff. So, questions for us?
Questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Good presentation. Mr. Ann at Silverton High School. Okay, get the lights on.
Wait.
Good evening, folks. So I'll start out with an enrollment update. As of the end of September, enrollment was up 47 students compared to the same time last year. So that's 1,195 students last year and 1,242 this year. I'd say the major factor in the increase is an increased number of transfer students, particularly at the freshman level. Met with a lot of families, and a lot of folks want to come to school here, and they're coming to school here from outside the Silver Falls School District. Report card. I provided you a copy with our report card. It has not been formally released to the public, although the public has access to it. You'll note that it's been completely redesigned and much more detailed. We'll be sending out the website for parents to access this report in our November newsletter, which will be going out by the end of this week. And hard copies will be provided in the main office for those parents requesting a hard copy, but we will not be mailing a hard copy to every family. SHS received an overall score of 4 on a rubric of 1 through 5. Meaning compared to other high schools with similar demographics, this is an above average rating. This is new to us, so I don't have anything to compare it to. It sounded pretty good to me, but we'll see as time goes by. I would like to bring your attention to the last page of the report, which is page 8 of 8 at the bottom, which addresses participation. I've highlighted the portion that I'd like to bring your attention to. You may remember last year that SHS fell short of the 94.5% target rate in 2 of the subgroups under my leadership. So I made a commitment to you a year ago that this would be a priority, and I'd report back to you this fall what those numbers would look like. You'll note that our participation in reading was 100%, and our participation in math was 99.7%. That was one student, and I'd be happy to share with you the details of what happened with that one student if you'd like to know. I'd like to thank all of the teachers that tested and tracked students in their testing participation. They did a great job, and I pushed them, so I appreciate that. I'd especially like to recognize Derek McElfresh and Therese Gerlitz for their work in tracking those numbers. College Credit Now and Advanced College Credit, which is the attached last page of your packet. College Credit Now is the Chemeketa term for college credit, and Advanced College Credit is the Clackamas Community College version. We articulate mostly with those 2 colleges, mostly with Chemeketa because that's our local community college, but if they're not able to articulate a particular class, they don't have a program, we look at other programs, and typically Clackamas is the one that we articulate most with. That report indicates how Silverton High School has done over the course of last year in terms of the number of credits and the number of students that have taken those courses. You'll note on the Chemeketa numbers that in terms of the local schools that articulate with Chemeketa, we're one of the largest in terms of total accrued credits. I'd like to again thank Therese Gerlitz for her effort in continuing to increase those numbers, those credit opportunities, along with our teachers. Our teachers are doing an outstanding job. We now have college credit now that you can receive in PE. We're also constantly working on adding courses and articulations in our elective courses, and we are very close to students being able to graduate from Silverton High School with an associate's degree, taking a certain number of classes and a certain path. As some of you may recall, this past month we went through our accreditation audit, and this has been a completely redesigned process, and it was brand new to us, and actually brand new to the administrators that participated in the audit. And I was more confident than ever going into this process, knowing the students that we see every day and the staff that I work with. I knew they were going to knock it out of the park, and they did. We received very high marks, and will be accredited for 5 more years. And the DVD that I've attached with your packet has a video message from the lead auditor, and she has over 40 years of experience in education, and she has some very complimentary things to say about Silverton High School that I would think would be beneficial for you to see. It also has her PowerPoint report that goes slide by slide on the whole process and what our strengths are and where we have some areas that we can continue to grow. A quick personal finance update. Just wanted you to let you know that class is going well, and we're currently in the process of working with Clackamas Community College, trying to articulate with them. So if we are successful in doing that, every senior student that takes that course will receive college credit should they choose to do so. Some of you may know that we decided over the course of, late last spring and early this summer to move our bus pickup and drop-off area. And we typically, or we used to pick kids up west of the gym entrance. And if you were ever there at the beginning of school or at the end of school, you'd have high school students and buses and staff, and it was just an unsafe place for kids to be walking through traffic. So we moved the bus pickup and drop off to the front of the school, and I met with first student, and they were awesome, and they now enter and exit off of Kremenga. The turnaround is used for pickup and drop off only. We don't park on there. And it's been a great success. We no longer have cars moving in and out where students are getting on the buses. The students exit mostly through in front of the CTE building, and it's really been a positive change. Finally, I just want to address one little item of climate. In terms of working with parents and community, our website, over the course of my tenure as principal, we've received feedback that it's cumbersome and not very user-friendly. So we are currently going through a complete redo of the website, and I encourage you to go on to the current website, and there's a link to what the new website will look like, and we're actually gathering feedback from people that are just testing it out and letting us know what they think, and we hope to launch that very soon, and I think it'll be a very positive change. Derek McElfresh is working on that, and he's doing amazing things, and this actually will be a district-wide change from the district webpage to all of the elementary schools, Mark Twain and Silverton High School. Questions? Questions for Mark?
Mark, just real quick, I stopped by when the audit was going on, and I was a couple of the administrators I talked to just had really good things to say about our kids here, our building in particular, but mostly about our kids and staff. And one of them I talked to said, kind of what's your main goal, or what's your mission statement? And it kind of caught me off guard because I thought, well, I should probably know what that is. But I said, I think, our mission statement to me is student success. And she said she heard the same thing from administration, from you guys, from teachers, and from students. The kids they talked to, they felt the main goal of the high school was student success. So I thought that was just very cool that came clear through like that.
I appreciate that. The reason that I was so confident going into this, we talk about it all the time. We have amazing kids that go to school here, and I've worked in other school districts and of course worked with other amazing kids, but this place is different, and I knew that those administrators would see that when they visited here, and we heard that from each and every one of them, and the lead auditor was the one probably most impressed, so I appreciate that.
And it's not only here, it's district-wide, because those kids
absolutely
all come here. So.
We get them all.
Yeah, so, okay, good things. Any other questions?
Thank you. Thanks,
Mark.
folks.
Dustin Hyundai Central Howell and District Title Programs.
I'm here to report on Title I and Central Howell. And this year our district received $746,000 in Title I. And that is to provide supplemental instruction in reading and math, or both. We have our usual 6 Title I school-wide program schools: Mark Twain, New Creek, Robert Frost, Scotts Mills, Silvercrest, and Eugene Field. All allocations are based on the free and reduced meal count. And we have a new rank order list. This affects Title I for next year, and we do not have any idea how much money we will get next year, but this is the rank order list. The poverty district average went down about 2.25% this year. And several of the schools went down in their free and reduced meal percentages. This is based on the entire month of October, all the applications that came in to the district for free and reduced meals, and the October 1 enrollment, and we've used that same exact system for many years to determine next year's allocations. So I don't know what to attribute that to. Maybe more people are working, I don't know. It depends on which news channel you watch. And hopefully things are getting better for families. So apparently we have fewer families that meet those poverty guidelines or fall below them. Approximately a quarter of all the school districts are going to be audited by ODE for their title programs and whether they're in compliance with the law. Each year we operate as though we're going to be audited. So an audit is not that big a deal because we just do business as usual and we turn in all of our compliance documents and accumulate all these things into notebooks, and so it shouldn't be a problem. All these things have to be turned in by February 24th, and we'll find out a little bit of feedback in early March, and they always reserve the right to come out and do on-site visits to either the district or specific schools. But there shouldn't be any red flags for us. I'm not anticipating any. And our 6 title schools now are busy trying to create or put all these documents together to be turned into me by December 20th so I can get the notebooks put together to ODE by the 24th of February. Any questions about Title I? Central Howell on our state report card was rated a level 5 out of 5. That puts us in the top 10% according to the report card information for schools in Oregon. The goal is to maintain that high level. The best way that we can do that is by improving our OAKS, the percentage of students meeting or exceeding center OAKS reading and math. Our staff works very hard every day to plan, teach, and care for those K-8 students. We have 173 this year as of October 1st. We have an excellent veteran staff. They work very hard. This year is the new initiative year, as you know, with CCSS, and it's becoming more and more implemented. The gradual release of responsibility is a district focus this year. It's going to be the new math curriculum coming to the K-5 teachers, so there's all kinds of new things, but our teachers are taking these things in stride, and they're such veterans that it's a lot of stuff. They sometimes feel very overwhelmed, but they're moving ahead. We did not take any transfers at any grades to maintain our 173 except at kindergarten. And we have 21 kindergartners this year. 9 of them are from Prattam. And our free and reduced percentage is 20.81%. And we have a small number of ELL students, and we also combine with Prattam to provide ELL services at Central Howell each afternoon. And we have some students on IEPs. We have 6.5 classroom teachers, one half-time AM only kindergarten this year. And we have first grade, a 1-2 combined class, a 3-4, a 4-5, a 6-7, and a 7-8. Our gym received a major facelift this year. We got our new backboards provided by our parent club. We had new lines painted on the floor. We had our center court repainted. Prattam had theirs done, and I heard about it, and had the person come down and look, and they did an absolutely wonderful job of repainting our center court. It probably hadn't been repainted in 15 years. It looks really sharp. So if you come to one of our basketball games or Christmas program or something like that, you have to take a look. And we have permanent wall mats under each basket now. Our Velcro finally wore out, so we just attached them permanently to the wall. Volleyball came in 3rd place at our district tournament, and we have 2 battles book teams headed by Becky Harley and Mrs. Ross. We now have a very motivated and large group of parents for our parent club. We meet at 2:30 on Wednesdays, the 3rd Wednesday of each month. So a lot of these parents, whether they're Central Howell parents or Salem-Keizer parents, they just come a little early on that day. They come up to the staff room. They have a very full agenda. We've gone through the entire calendar of events that they support each year. They have designated a lead person for each one of those events, and so they're just ticking these things off, and everything's very highly organized. They're organizing their supplies in the basement. It's just, it's kind of like about 10 years ago we had a similar group of parents, and then they've made their way through. And fortunately now we have a whole nother group of kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade parents that are really motivated, and they want to do lots of projects and really help the school out with the money that they either raise or put together. They raised about $8,500 at Oktoberfest, and they give very generously to classroom teachers for classroom supplies, and if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have any field trips. We're regularly keeping parents informed by using One Call Now and updating our website weekly. One Call Now is weekly. Teachers are participating in the early release days. Most of their PLCs, their goals are around math, especially for K-5. And middle school, 6th or 8th grade classroom teachers are focusing on reading for their students who are slow or low readers. To ensure communication throughout the year with staff, we have monthly staff meetings, we have monthly classified meetings, we have every week we have grade level team meetings throughout the month with a different group of teachers each week, and then my door is always open to any staff member. Soon we'll be doing our annual bullying survey for 5th through 8th graders. I found that in the past it's been a great way for students to anonymously reveal who they think is being bullied and also who the bullies may be. And again, it's all anonymous, and I have been able to, in our small school setting, figure those things out pretty easily because kids are pretty honest, especially when they know that nobody's going to know who the response came from. We're working very hard to meet the academic needs of all of our students, and so we have students identified, we have students in intervention groups. Students obviously always receive their special ed services, they receive their EL service, so basically if a student is struggling in reading or math, they're getting some extra support. And we started a new program, Jog Across America, this year. The goal is to get 2,942 miles from Central Howell to New York City by the end of the year by jogging around our .17 of a mile track. So students have 10 punch card tickets. They're green tickets. When they've gone 10 laps around the track, that equals 1.7 miles. They turn the card in. We keep track of all that. I got some really responsible middle school students that are tracking all that so we can recognize individuals, recognize classrooms, grade levels, and so on. But they've run 1,052 miles so far. Things slow down as the weather gets nasty because we're inside for recess. And they're clipping along really well. We have some staff members who are doing this. They might go out on their 15-minute break and walk 2 or 3 laps rather than just kind of maybe just sitting and reading or relaxing. They're choosing to go out. Kids don't have to run. They can walk, they can skip, they can run as fast as they want. It's all voluntary, and it's just a very positive thing, focusing on improving some fitness, but without any kind of coercion or anything. It's been a very positive addition. And we continue to work with Accelerated Reader every year. This year, about this time, we were at about 600 books read, and already at this year, we're at 1,059 books read and test passed. So we are bringing up, we've done this now 4 or 5 years, and so we're bringing up a group of kids that have had Accelerated Reader in front of them for all those years, and they just have learned to love to read. And so I think that's going to keep paying big dividends as those kids get into the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, that we'll get kids that they don't shy away from reading, whether the teacher's assigning it or whether it's reading for enjoyment. And the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, we're going to have Civil War Day at Central Howell, and students will wear their duck gear and their beaver gear and take pictures and put it on the website. We didn't do that last year, but it was really missed, so we brought it back this year. Any questions about Central Howell?
Very good report. Questions? Okay, thank you, Dennis. Thank you. Okay, we have no other action items, so we're adjourned. Thank you very much for coming, everyone.